but it's not like super bad. I'm not really sure what that would be.
All right, we're live. So, yeah,
Yeah. Well, that doesn't necessarily mean anything, does it?
no.
Okay. Did you watch the U.S. Open, Mac?
No, I did not. I saw the scores and I was really surprised with I mean, it I've never seen scores like that.
What do you mean?
They were,
Like not that high?
like they were high, right? They're really high.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
It's
that's like typical for a U.S. Open. I don't understand why people are so outraged at Phil Mickelson. And I love golf and I play golf, but like, even though he like really fucked up and he did something kind of bad and he probably should have been disqualified. Like, I don't understand why the average weekend golfer, like the person who doesn't give a shit about the rules, really cares all that much about it.
so explain to me what did he do that got him disqualified?
Oh, you got to see the video of this. It's kind of funny.
Okay, I'll watch.
So pretty much what he did was like the greens on Saturday were really, really fast and like players were really struggling. That's why everyone played kind of poorly on Saturday. And so Phil got to a point where he got so frustrated with it and he had like a probably like a I don't know, he had a putt going downhill and the ball missed the hole and started to roll by the hole. And it became pretty evident soon after he hit the putt that it was not going to stop. Like it was going to roll all the way off the green and he was going to be down sort of in the spot where he had just been and had just played from. And so instead of letting the ball roll all the way down the hill, he decided to run after it and he hit the ball while it was still moving
Oh, okay.
back up toward the hole, which is like a big no-no in golf. You can't do that. And so like doing that alone without knowledge of the rule is a two-stroke penalty. The thing that's interesting about Phil's situation is that after the round they asked him about it and he was just like, yeah, I know that rule. He was like, I did it because I felt like if I didn't do it, I was going to be playing that hole all day. And so I thought it was better to just take the two-stroke penalty and move on, which is an even bigger no-no and grounds for disqualification because there's also a rule that you're not allowed to break a rule to gain an advantage, which he sort of admitted that he did. So they didn't disqualify him, probably because he's Phil Mickelson, and they gave him a two-stroke penalty, and he made a 10 for a hole, which is obviously fucking ridiculous for a professional golfer. And he moved on, and he played Sunday, and he did decently well, and they probably cut him a decently large check at the end of the week. But all in all, like that's sort of what happened in the situation. I'm just like, I don't really understand. Like there was so much outrage at Phil Mickelson on Saturday afternoon, and that's just like sort of confusing to me. Like all these people who are yelling disgrace at Phil Mickelson right now are the same people that don't play by the rules when they play themselves. So like I don't know, man. I feel like in certain respects, like the story is large because people want to have something to like moan and groan about.
I mean,
Because who did it, right?
Oh, 100%. It's definitely more about the criminal here than it is about the crime itself, I think.
Yeah.
But
I think
like, and maybe that goes for the story, but I also think that if like a lesser player had done this on tour, there would be people saying like this kid should be suspended for like a serious amount of time. Like that's a serious infraction of the rules, and it also does sort of like he pretty much was just like fuck you Shinnecock Hills, this is ridiculous and I'm not going to put up with it. And like that's sort of, I'm never ever like spirit of the game guy, but like that does sort of run contrary to like the point of the game if you're just going to hit the ball when it's about to go somewhere that you don't want it to.
Yeah.
well, so then didn't you just answer your original question?
What was my original question?
Like you don't get why people are that like pissed off.
I mean, yeah, I guess I understand that, but like I don't know. I think that the people who these people who are yelling disgrace, like that may be the reason that they're doing it, but I still think that like it's just hypocritical for them to do that. And you know, Phil is not like, there are things about Phil that people don't like, and there are things about Phil that people love, but like I just think that kind of like Max said, the story itself, and I think the outrage at him is probably more specific to like his importance in the game over the past decade or whatever, even longer than that at this point. And so, like, yeah, like it's just kind of a shame because Koepka has now won 2 U.S. Opens in a row, and that's a big deal. And he's under 30, but all anyone's talking about is Phil Mickelson kind of fucking up, and I think that sucks for him. But again, as Max said, like that sort of makes sense.
Well,
I was surprised with. I mean, I did watch like some of the interviews at the end. I had no idea that this. How do you say Koepka?
Yeah.
Yeah, he is huge.
Oh, he's huge. He's like a linebacker, dude. He's the prototype for like the future of the game, man. He hits it
like
he hits it like 325 yards off the tee, and then he's got like a crazy good finesse game. So he's a good player, man. I mean, I think the reason that most people don't know who he is because he's only won one other tournament, and I think that was the Waste Management Open or something like that.
Yeah.
And so it's not like he's gonna, he's not done a whole lot of winning, I guess, in terms of number of tournaments. But anytime you win, like the U.S. Open is the hardest major to win, and he's won 2 in a row. So that's obvious.
If he's
but don't you think like the depressed scores are probably like?
I mean, people have been saying that, man, but like he had to play the same golf course all those guys did. I mean, I think like
no, I'm not taking away from the win. I just think that people don't. I'm not gonna like. I know. Last year I knew that he had won the U.S. Open, but by this time this year, I had totally forgotten until they brought it up, like in like pre-Open coverage. You know what I mean? Like, I think the depressed scores decrease viewership a little bit.
I mean, yes and no. Like, I also think there are a lot of weekend golfers who like to see the best players in the world struggle just like they do, and I think that was like, one of the reasons that Saturday was such a popular thing for people to watch was precisely because players were fucking up left and right. I think that there's something that the average golfer and the bad golfer sort of likes about that. And I mean, at the end of the day, man, I think people just want it to be close. I think sometimes they get confused between competitive and close, and they think that anything that is close is competitive, and that's not always true. Like, he won by 1 stroke. So, and he was only 1 over. So if he had birdied the last hole, he would have been even for 4 days. And so all of that bitching would have led to someone playing the course the way that they probably wanted to when they set it up. And I mean the USGA and the golf course itself, Shinnecock Hills. But it was difficult, man. And I thought that a lot of the whining and bitching from the players was kind of unnecessary.
I saw a lot about that just on like the structure of the course, the greens, that everyone was playing it better in the morning and not doing as well in the afternoon.
Right. And I think that's the big point. Like, to Alex's thing about like the inflated scores, I think probably the biggest argument for that, in favor of that, would be that on Saturday, there were a couple guys who went out very early in the morning who hadn't played well on Thursday and Friday and just barely made the cut. And they go out before the wind's blowing and it's soft because it's the morning, and they shoot low numbers. And then all of a sudden, all the players who played well aren't rewarded for playing well on Thursday and Friday. And I think that makes sense. But, at the end of the day, like, it's 1 week a year where it's set up really, really difficult. Every other tournament for the year, like, these guys are going out and shooting 15, 16, 17 under par for 4 days. So if there's going to be one day where the winner's going to be 1 over, that's not the worst thing in the world to me.
See, I don't have an issue with the scores, right? Like, I think that's one of the real cool things about golf is that you can ratchet up the degree of difficulty without like, it's not like we're putting on 12-foot hoops, You can, totally within the game, you can ratchet up the degree of difficulty. I just didn't like there were clearly like parts of Shinnecock that were causing inconsistencies. And part of that is like the time, like if you look at I think the real story here is Dustin Johnson blew it.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, it's got to be noted for sure. Like,
but at the same time, he had one terrible round that was I just felt like was one kind of bound to happen. So kudos to Koepka for not losing it at any point, like really during the tournament. But two, I just felt like part of me feels like the guy who was playing the best golf for most of the weekend, like didn't come away with it because they kind of tried to one up themselves in the degree of difficulty department.
I mean, well, okay, he played the best Thursday and Friday, but Saturday and Sunday he was pretty bad.
Played well Sunday, right?
He played okay. I mean, he shot 1 under, but like he forgot how to putt. Like he just straight up forgot how to putt. And I think like what you're saying is probably true. Like Saturday the difficulty was such that no one had any confidence putting. It was sort of a guessing game for everyone. And I think some people came back Sunday and sort of reset and were able to get back to their game. And he was still, it seemed like most of the round, I watched pretty much all of it, like he was still kind of confused by the greens. Like he just didn't seem very comfortable at all putting. And so, yeah, I mean, dude, I think you're right. Like, I think it gets to a point where we have to talk about the fact that this guy has had tons of leads. And I mean, let's be honest, a couple of really big leads in some notable majors here recently. I mean, what happened at Pebble Beach, I guess 8 or 9 years ago, was kind of crazy and unprecedented. And then this again, dude, I mean, all things considered, if he shoots like 2 under both days, Saturday, Sunday, then he wins. So
if he shot 2 over Saturday, I think
that's what I'm saying. If he shot 2 over, he was 4 under going into Saturday. So
I thought you said 2 under Saturday, Sunday. He would have blown everybody away.
Right. So I mean, I think you're right, man, and I think that he's obviously disappointed. I'm sure. But it gets to a point where I think it has to be talked about. I'm not sure why we haven't talked about it more in the past. For some reason, he doesn't seem to get criticized as much as others.
I mean, I think golf's one of those weird sports where it's so tough to win any event, right? Let alone a major that, Phil's coming second in 6 U.S. Opens. I think that blowing a lead in golf, I don't think people always chalk that up to like, even though there's definitely a big, like I guess just like mental power kind of component to it. I feel like people definitely feel like there's like, I personally feel like Shinnecock is probably the reason he lost and not necessarily Dustin Johnson is the reason he lost.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's a good point. I mean, he's the best, he's the number 1 player in the world. So he knows what he's doing. I mean, I think you're right, man. But again, and this is sort of the last point that I would make about it. Like, I'm okay with 1 week a year there being the winner being 1 over. Like, I'm okay with that. If every other week these guys are going to be going out and making birdies and eagles all over the place, I'm totally all right with 1 week ratcheting up the difficulty. That's what the U.S. Open's about. And so all the whining and bitching on the players' part, that was something that I didn't take kindly to at all, mostly because they all have to play the same golf course, and these guys are typically playing the most – Shinnecock is one of the most beautiful courses in the world, but these guys are playing very well-conditioned, maintained to how they want it golf courses, and if 1 week they're going to make it not that way, I'm totally all right with that.
I don't mind the scores. I just mind the lack of consistency, right? Like I would love to watch guys, or not love to, but I don't mind watching guys, struggle to get 1 over par. But it's not fun watching guys go 7 up. I don't know, that's like sounds a little selfish, and I'm not the biggest golf fan, but like when I watch golf, I definitely watch it because like I have friends who are like low handicap, almost scratch golfers at their course. I'm not gonna give them too much credit, but I can go, play around with them and watch them hit 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 over par. And that's great and all, but part of the reason that I personally am tuning in to majors and, the odd just, tour tournament is because it's fun to watch these guys at their absolute best. Like I remember I think it was freshman or sophomore year of college, there's actually the Deutsche Bank, which is a tour event right down from the street from where Mac and I used to go to school. And 1 year, Rory and Tiger were just on fire. And that's what's fun, is just watching guys do things that it looks impossible for them to do.
I mean, I get that. I think most people are probably that way. Wow, that was a lot of golf talk to start the show.
That
This
was.
is From the Nosebleeds podcast. We'll be right back.
Not bad. That was pretty good.
You got enough in there.
We got enough in there. Yeah, that was
Is that a full segment? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Was that what?
That
10,
was-
15
that was-
minutes?
That was easily
15, 17 minutes. That was good.
Okay.
All right. Will said he's trying to get on. Let's see if we can speed that up.
So what? We're doing. Do you guys have World Cup teams that you're going to root for?
Yeah, Mexico, 100%. And this is going to sound like a really I want to get into it, and I'll try to give this the same take then. That's going to sound like a hot take because they beat Germany. I wanted to text that out so bad before they did.
Dude,
Mexico.
I was pro Croatia last show. Where I'd say that after the show. Mac, you were there for it, right?
You said it.
All right, here's the deal. We're all going to call mostly Bill today, and no one acknowledge it. Okay? Don't acknowledge it. No one.
Deal.
Understood? Everyone call Will Mosley, Bill, and don't acknowledge why we're doing it.
Mac, who's your team?
Iceland.
Oh yeah, that's a popular one.
Okay, here's the
I
thing
get
about World Cup talk. I'm down to go into that if people actually have educated things to say.
I've got like probably a 2-3 minute spiel on Croatia. Obviously I'm not like I'm not an expert, but I've got a good reason, I think, for like why I'm or at least bullish on Croatia.
Mac Young, do you have anything to say about the World Cup?
Yeah, I mean, I watched most of the games except for
Okay. No, that's excellent. That's awesome. So you guys can really take the reins on this. What's up with Bill?
He said it's loading and it's taking like 5 minutes. So
It's loading. That can't be a good sign. If it's taking 5 minutes for him to load the chat.
I don't know. He's more technologically savvy than at least you and I, Andrew. So I don't know. Maybe we just start and
Yep. That sounds good. Text him and tell him we're going to be mid-segment when he comes in, though.
Do you want to start with how am I going to put this? How do you want to start with this? I think that's a better way.
I'll probably bring the show back traditionally and then introduce you guys, and then
Like, do you want to
let's just get into why you like Croatia. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah.
World Cup.
all right. Give me 1 second here. What's going on, everyone? Welcome back. This is From the Nosebleeds podcast. My name is Andrew Levin, and currently I am talking with two other humans, and there may be a third human at some point. That third human today will be referred to as Bill Mosley and Bill Mosley only. We're not going to explain to him why, no matter how frustrated he gets. Okay, Mac?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, Alec?
Sure.
Excellent. My good friends, Mac Young, producer extraordinaire, here from Asheville, North Carolina. Now, is it, Mac?
It is.
How's it going, man?
Going pretty well. I like it up here.
What shirt are you wearing right now?
Columbus Crew.
And they're still in Columbus, right? For now?
For the next week at least.
Oh, right. We should get into that at some point.
Absolutely.
And our good friend, Alec Uecki, from somewhere in the Northeast. Where is that again, Alec? I'm going to keep asking until I can remember.
North Haven, Connecticut. Alec
Okay.
Uecki, friend of the show.
A good friend of the show, man. Willing to eat absurd amounts of canned meat for the show. I'm not sure that there's a better friend than that. Put that up on the poll, Mac Young. Is there a better friend than a friend who's willing to eat canned meat for you? And so it is World Cup time now. Alec apparently has a 3-minute Croatia tape, so I'm not sure if we're going to time him exactly, but he's rooting for Croatia, and so he's going to explain why, and then I guess you've got something to say about it.
Okay. So coming into the World Cup season, obviously no U.S., but we're also kind of in that special a summer dead zone where if you're not a baseball fan like me, things definitely tend to slow down a bit. And if you love sports like I do as well, you kind of find yourself with a little bit too much free time. So, a couple months ago when it came out that the U.S. wasn't going to be making it to the World Cup this year, I set out on a journey to find a team that I could root for, that I could get behind, and that, let's be honest, I felt could win a little bit. And Croatia is that team for me. And first things first, we're going to get into why I think Croatia. I don't think they can win it all, but I think there's
cool uniforms.
One, cool uniforms. I think that's the first place to go. If you're gonna eventually consider buying a jersey for a team, don't you want it to be one that you like? Two,
that is one quick thing, Alec. I actually think that the reason that America will never be good at soccer is probably because our fans put more into what the uniforms look like than the quality of the team itself. And I'm not saying that as a criticism of you. I agree with you. One of the reasons I like Croatia is because of the cool kits. But I think that U.S. soccer fans generally care a lot about that as compared to the quality of the team. And I'm not even being all that facetious.
No, dude, they've been kind of bomb. I mean, when they had the red striped jerseys, I thought those were awesome. I thought the ones they came out with against France were pretty cool. They've been pretty well.
Don't you think there's always this kind of like pervading, like, oh, we're going to be better the next year? Like, I feel like U.S. soccer fans are actually some of the most like unduly optimistic people in the world.
Oh, 100%, man.
Like, they never show up. They have no stars.
Okay, well, I think
back to my main point.
Look, tell me about
why Croatia.
Wait, I gotta say that. Hold on. Everyone, slow down. We're gonna get to your Croatia take, okay, Alec?
Weren't we in the middle of my Croatia take?
You think that U.S. soccer fans don't show out?
No, I'm not saying they don't show out. I'm saying the U.S. soccer team doesn't show out.
Oh, well, yeah. Yeah.
I'm saying, like, for the continuous hype around soccer in this country, and that's all it is. That's the tough part, is that I like soccer. I'd love for it to be great here, but that's just hype. It's just constantly, okay, this is the team. We have the quality. Like, these guys are playing in Europe now, and lo and behold, we lose to Turks and Caicos. No, I think that's where it is. But I think it's also that we don't actually have the quality. Like, Christian Pulisic right now is about as accomplished as an American has ever been in Europe, and he's like 20. He can't even drink legally in this country.
That's so true.
Which is part of the reason that I like Croatia. I think to do well in the World Cup, you don't have to have the best players in the world, but you have to have players who are top players in the world. And by that I mean like probably top 100 players, maybe a couple guys who are in the top 50, a guy in the top 20, and that's exactly what Croatia has. They've got guys who, if you play FIFA, you know who those players are because they're on those top teams.
I mean, yeah, to name a few, you got like Nico Kranjčar, who just like causes so much damage to opposing defense.
Shut your fucking mouth, Mac.
What about Luka Modric?
It's so funny.
The second best player in Real Madrid.
Of Zlato Dalic.
No, but I think most people know about Mandzukic and Ivan Rakitic. Like, those are actually, I'm not even kidding around. Those are great players.
They are. That's fair.
Yeah,
that's fair.
5 goals in international play.
All right.
Okay. I don't need this.
Okay.
On the other hand, right, Croatia, 4 goals in World Cup qualifying. All matches played, let up only 4 goals. You've got big names on the offense. You've got a defense to back it up, and they're just not a trendy pick.
Who's in their group?
Their group is Argentina, Iceland, and Nigeria, who they already beat. Typically, you need to win 2 games or win a game and tie 2 to get through. And I think Croatia is the better team than Iceland. So, I see them going through, and I think they've got the quality to maybe pull off an upset here or there.
So what you're saying is that you think that Croatia has a chance to beat Argentina? I mean, that's the upset in their group.
Yeah. I think I don't
They played like
I think if you watched Argentina play Iceland, a country of 300,000 people, nonetheless, where the coach is a dentist, then yes, I do. I definitely do.
Okay, so many poll questions, Mac Young. First of all, if you saw Christian Pulisic walking by you on the street, would you know who he was? Yes or no?
no.
Next poll question. Did you know the soccer coach, the soccer manager of Iceland is a dentist? Was a dentist or is a dentist, Alex?
Is a dentist.
He is
His
currently a
side job is
dentist.
His side job is the national team coach.
Okay, so please put those both up on the poll at _ the nosebleeds.
There's more.
There's more?
Yeah. Their
What?
goalie, who had some incredible saves against Messi the other day.
The game saving save.
Yeah, the game-winning save, really.
Well, I mean, they drew, so.
He is a film director full-time, and then is a goalie on the side. And then they have one guy who's a middle school teacher, and they're just a hodgepodge of people who just like side job soccer, and they're still made to the World Cup while the U.S. did not.
Do they have any professional players?
They have like 3 or 4. I mean, a lot of them play, but
like they have second jobs, is what you're saying?
Yeah, not in the same way that like
a lot of them aren't on the A team, like on that that top tier.
Yeah. Wow. That is a lot that I didn't know about Iceland. I mean, I know like
Argentina, who brought off Higuain off the bench, which is just like, yeah.
And speaking of guys who deserve criticism, Alec Ueki, like, dude, why are we not on Messi right now?
We should be.
I mean, dude, you got to make that. You have got to make that. You are the best player in the world. It is the World Cup, and that is the decisive moment.
So
clearly, like you have got to make that.
I'm not the best. I'm not like a soccer analyst. I will say this: the one thing that really annoys me about the Messi thing, and I think there's totally like a lot of this is due, right? Like he should have made that kick. You've got to win this game. You've got to be locked in at all times. What about the goalie?
What do you mean about the goalie?
As a former, that was a hell of a save.
Yeah,
it's a beautiful, like Messi, maybe in like some like very small moment, the goalie for Iceland was the better man. And
yeah, but something that I really believe in that Mark Jackson says a lot on the NBA telecast is that good offense beats good defense. And I really agree with that, man. It was a phenomenal save, dude, but Messi's the best player in the world. He's got to be better at offense there.
The night before, he watched Ronaldo have one of the most tremendous goals, free kick goals that we've seen, at least in World Cup play. It was
a hat trick.
It was the best. But the final goal, dude, was the best goal of the weekend.
Yeah, 100%, man. Yeah. And I mean, that's another thing too that I want to get into at some point, man. All these teams out here in the World Cup who don't look like they're going to even come close to scoring a goal in the tournament, and FIFA wants to expand the tournament even more. I don't understand it. I don't understand it. Go back to the opening game of the whole tournament, dude, and Saudi Arabia put up a ridiculous effort against Russia.
I mean, I think the real truth is, first of all, I will say this, that I don't think that the blowout of that size was expected. 1. 2, though, I think the truth is obvious. It's TV ratings and dollars.
Well, duh, dude. FIFA is one of the more corrupt organizations that exists.
Well, exactly. But think about how much they're kicking themselves right now that the U.S. wasn't able to get in. And not like I'm saying that the U.S. deserves to get in necessarily, but
it's not good for TV.
At the same time, exactly. Think about the money that would, be coming through if they could promise that there was going to be a 2:00 game on, because that's the best time slot you're getting in the States for this tournament, it seems like. But a 2:00 game on a Saturday for the next 3 weeks was going to be the U.S. against some country that we could vilify for 7 days. We would be into that, and we'd be talking about it.
Of course we would, dude, but that's the thing. Like you
time we ever care about Ghana.
Exactly. It's the only time we ever care about soccer, Mac.
Freaking Ghana, right? Exactly. I don't like the, like, I don't know what the
Dude, our country,
Noun for the people of Ghana is, but I've got a bone to pick.
Our country is such an outsider to the sport that we don't even call it the same thing as everyone else, dude. Like, we're not part of the inner circle of soccer, dude. And I agree so much with Mac, dude. The hopeful optimism in this country about our soccer program is fucking ridiculous, dude. And I say that with all due respect to the ladies who fucking destroy it, dude. And that's awesome. That's really cool. But the problem in the US is that our best athletes are not interested in playing soccer. And also, let's be honest, dude, it is a pay-for-play sport here. Rich kids play soccer in the US. In other countries, it is the complete fucking opposite.
I think that's one place where you definitely have it, is that there's income barriers to everybody being a great soccer player, or at least having all the opportunities necessary maybe to being great at soccer, at least definitely in certain parts of the country. I don't think we have an excuse anymore, though, for the number of players or the number of great athletes. I mean, I'd especially say this, like, coming up in the Northeast, like, I think, like, there are probably some of the better athletes in from every school that I've ever gone to have been soccer players, and like that's in a town that Connecticut or not does make football a priority in everything that it does. So I think on the other side of that, a stat we threw out yesterday was there are 450,000 boys playing soccer in the U.S. in high school each year. Right, 2017, that was the stat. It probably goes up in 2018. The population of Iceland is a little bit below that, I believe. The population of Iceland is 334,000. We have a pool larger than the entirety. We have a pool of just kids who play high school soccer right now, larger than the entirety of the population of a country who is if you look at the comparative accomplishment of the last 3 years, it's ridiculous, right? Like, they are head and shoulders better than us, and that points out to systematic problems.
Okay, but Alec, I think your assertion that soccer players are athletic, dude. No one is fucking disputing that, but I do dispute your assertion that in this country, more athletic kids in high school choose to play soccer over other sports. There's a reason that LeBron James and Kevin Durant play basketball. There's a reason that LaShawn McCoy plays football. Like, I don't know, man. Of course, like, when you look at the math, I think, like, it's easy to get overwhelmed by those numbers and be like, why don't we have a good team? We only need 11 good players out of 450,000 per year. And so it's a great statistic, man, and the information is solid, but, like, don't you also think that, like, it's somewhat flawed, because I'm not sure that pool is the best is the best, man. Like, in other countries, dude, soccer is the option. Like, as much as people here say, like, kids shouldn't be choosing a sport, and I think that probably, like, choosing one sport over playing all the sports, and I think that probably contributes to it also. Like, in other countries, dude, soccer is just what it is. Like, that's what they have. So if you're an athlete, that's what you do. 100% of the athletic talent in some countries is mostly going towards soccer.
Well, yeah, I agree with what you're saying, but I think that there's also, like, so I think that maybe we're losing out on some of the very, very, very top level athletes in the country, and there's no doubt about that, and there's no doubt about the fact that other countries are getting that. At the same time, though, like, there's not a lack of a pool, right? Like, it's not like kids aren't playing soccer. This is weird because everybody knows kids who, like, played youth soccer, and then played high school soccer, right? Like, these aren't, like, we're not, like, searching to find people who played soccer. And let's be honest, this is the U.S. We expect to be good at everything that's not obscure to us.
I think we expect to be good at everything, dude. And I think one of the reasons that we set ourselves up with our soccer program always is precisely because of what Mac Young said at the start of this conversation, which was that our expectations of how we are going to do in every respect to our male soccer team is way too high given the amount of talent we have and the amount of resources that we put into it. And I'm not talking about money. I'm talking about trying to figure out a way to identify who the best talent for soccer is in our country as early as possible, just like all the other European countries and South American countries do. And Mexico.
But you know what the issue there is the way that we approach youth sports differently. So, you highlight youth sports in Europe by signing kids to contracts, right? Like, 9-year-olds get signed to the Real or Barca youth system, and their parents fly them to Spain, and then that 9-year-old lives with a soccer team for the rest of his life. The way we do it is 13-year-olds sign football scholarships. Nobody's excited about college soccer.
Yeah, and I agree with that. And the NCAA is like one of the more corrupt organizations there is. I don't think like a system that allows a 13-year-old to sign any sort of contractual obligation is fucking ridiculous to me.
Well, I don't think those are verbal, but even we give it media attention. So I think if we had soccer coaches out there giving kids, scholarships at age 12, and those kids wanted to go to those schools, that's the other half of it. I think Pulisic, by the time he was 13, was in Europe playing for pro clubs development teams. And we don't have something like that here. We have the NCAA, which is only talking to other or what
the fuck was okay, we're gonna get to that in a second, hopefully, but now we're gonna let our good friend Will Mosley join the conversation. What's up, Will?
What's up, everybody? How y'all doing?
We're doing fine, man. We're talking about the FIFA World Cup. You got anything to say?
I mean, as a person who has staked most of my soccer watching career on Ronaldo's overrated, and if Messi was his size, he would be 10 times as good. The past couple days have been a little hard for me to watch and make me kind of want to crawl into a hole the way that the events of the first couple days played out. But all in all, man, it's been an interesting tournament. I mean, Harry Kane scored that late goal today to have England win 2-1, which was cool. I mean, all there's been some good soccer, and just coming into it, like I figured it was going to be. It's really sad that the U.S. isn't in it because it's a really good tournament so far. And it'd be nice for us to have a reason to watch it more passionately.
Yeah, 100%, man. And we were just talking about it. Like, the fact that the U.S. isn't in it is really lame. But, like, I think the fact that me and Al can sort of sit here and debate all these reasons about why our team isn't as good as it is goes to show that there's a lot of fucking reasons that we're behind in soccer. And that's not going to be fixed overnight. And so, once again, we need to fucking lower our expectations, and we need to do that shit right fucking now. Okay, good. That was excellent. Way to break, everyone. Will, your internet's pretty spotty, man.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's why it took so long. I don't know what's up. It's reading full strength, and all of my other websites are running like quickly. It's just been the Google Hangouts. I don't know what's up.
Yeah, I'm on a podcast.
Yeah. Come on, Mom.
I know. Oh. So what are we on to next?
That's a good question.
We want to go back into basketball.
I mean, dude, if Will's internet's working well enough, I want to go start with my favorite segment, which is Will's Atlanta Braves update.
I was going to ask that. Yeah.
Oh.
That's going to be a reoccurring segment this summer for sure.
Because there's no way. I know exactly what you did on Wednesday when you said you were going to watch it.
God damn it.
So I don't know. We're gonna have to just sort of feel it out with Will, dude. Will, just be smart, man. If it's like real, if we're telling you it's Lear Gritchy, just back off and we'll try to figure it out. But
yeah, we'll do. I'm gonna try to.
Do you have things to say on the NBA draft?
I mean, yes and no. Like, I mean, it all ties into Kawhi. Everything that's basketball related right now ties into Kawhi for me because all trades through like all like draft day trades run through what could possibly happen with Kawhi and who's going to move.
Yeah, it's kind of become a bigger story than the draft.
Yeah, like the draft just got overshadowed. I will say the one thing I have about the draft is like the amount that everyone's falling in love with Mo Bamba makes me think that he's going to be 100% a bust.
Oh, dude, I don't like Mo Bamba
because I feel like the only name I've heard over the past 4 days is Bamba, and faster than Steph Curry and longer than Kevin Durant, and can block shot better than DeAndre Jordan and Rudy Gobert. And I'm just like, this is a lot of praise for a guy whose like team got bounced in the second round of the NCAA tournament.
I'm not going to knock him for the NCAA tournament, but I would knock him. I would not knock him, but the only reason I think he's gotten so much hype is because he's been posting all those videos of him working out with like that NBA like stud who like does all like the what's his name, like Brickley or whatever, who works out of like the Lifetime gym. Yeah, he keeps posting videos of insane workouts with that guy who was like Coach LeBron and Durant and all those.
Get a contract in a professional sport right now is to just start making Instagram videos in the off season. If we've learned anything from James Harrison, it's that. Because every year that is contract year, James Harrison, he just posts a ridiculous video of him working out in a super dark gray sweatshirt that he's somehow still sweating through.
But that's super impressive.
Do you see the medicine ball volleyball the other day, dude? It was insane.
What, like,
yeah, and I mean, that's what I'm saying. There's one of those like every offseason, and until this past year, the Steelers were like, wow, he's strong. Let's sign him to another 2 or 3 year deal. And I mean, that's the way Joel Embiid has figured it out. I mean, he's going to just consistently get bags his entire life. And he'll just consistently continue to post videos of him dunking on Andrew at the like park, and we'll go.
I'm getting such a lag on your end, Will. Are you guys not getting that, Mac and Alec?
It's
I am a little bit.
I understand what he's saying, but it's lagging.
Okay. Well, if you guys can understand, then we can just keep going.
Will, question: is there anybody who you see as like? I get that you don't like Mo Bamba, but is there anybody who you really, really like? Like, who's your lock for this draft?
DeAndre Ayton.
You think?
I mean, just physically, I think that he's. I mean, dude, nobody's a lock because like we've seen players just dominate and like in college, and then they just don't pan out. So I mean, like it can always not pan out, and that's why I have to hesitate on what I think would be a lock. But I mean, who I feel safest about is probably DeAndre Ayton, just because his offensive game as such a big, tall, long center just works well with the NBA now. His shot looks really, really smooth. And when you're a center who looks that smooth from a pull-up J or a three-pointer, that's scary in today's NBA, and that's something Mo Bamba doesn't have. And I think Mo Bamba's ceiling is higher, but I think the highest floor in the draft is probably Ayton.
Okay.
See, I think it's Doncic, and kind of for a similar reason that you talk about the fact that college and the NBA aren't the same thing, and I'm not saying that playing overseas for Real is the same thing, but I think that it's a step up, and I think that he's had to perform against men who make their living playing basketball at an elite capacity as an 18, 19-year-old and been the best player on the floor. I just don't see a point where he doesn't come across and be successful, even if it's not to the same the hype level that we have. But I think there's, like Ricky Rubio when he came across, maybe wasn't as good as we expected, but I think nobody would deny the fact that Ricky Rubio has been a good basketball player throughout his NBA career.
Okay. A lot to unpack there. First, with Mo Bamba, Will, like the thing that's interesting to me about that is the fact that all these NBA fans and these NBA period or these modern NBA purists love to say that the old version of the big man is totally outdated. And I just love the idea of all these teams over the past 4 days clamoring to move up the draft board so that they can draft the kid whose ceiling is highest, and that kid is a traditional big man. Like that's just an interesting dynamic to me.
That's what I was asking.
But he's not a traditional big man.
But he's more of a traditional.
Not like
than anything. He back to the basket. He's a pick and roll dive to the basket, block a lot of shots center. Like I mean, I see what you mean because he's a little slower, but I think Bagley's the guy in this draft that represents the old school big man. And for that reason, I'd be scared of Bagley, just like I thought people should have been scared of Okafor coming out of Duke. I mean, I see your point. I do find it a little funny that, like you said, the NBA is like trying to outdate the center, and we're looking at like 3 of the top 5 picks being centers or power forwards. So, I mean, I definitely see what you mean.
Do you have any theory on why Duke doesn't produce solid NBA players?
I mean, no, but because college skill doesn't constitute NBA like success, and because I don't care that Duke is a great program and they have great college players, because the NBA is so random with your athleticism. Duke has just as good of a shot as Wofford does of having an NBA elite star.
I disagree.
It's really, really small.
I disagree 100%.
I mean, I think
no matter where you're at, like, I don't care if you're like, Kentucky's probably one of the only places that you can look at and consistently over the past like 10 years be like, if you go there, you're probably an NBA star.
I mean, I just think competition matters for basketball development. And so going to a school like Duke at the very least gives you the opportunity to play against the other best players in the country at your age and in your like at your point in your basketball development. I think that that's important. Like
I would see what you mean, but the best players, college isn't the ball that they're getting to do that with. It's AAU ball year round during the summer and everything when they're growing up in high school and even in college in the off season. And I mean,
is AAU college kids?
With Wofford, I see like decides to go to like USC or Florida Gulf Coast, like they're still playing against like possibly NBA level talent. Like it's not that big of a jump.
Yeah, I mean, I understand what you're saying. I don't know, man. Like I think that's to a certain extent, like the best players in college, they do tend to be decent enough NBA players. Like, yes, there are busts, but to just be able to like say that you think like what's your basis for saying that you think Mo Bamba is going to be a bust other than
No, I mean it's not a bust. Like it depends on what you constitute as a bust. If he's going to get drafted like 11th overall, then no, I don't think he's going to be a bust for the 11th overall pick. But if he ends up being the 3rd overall pick, then I think that's a really risky pick because I expect a lot more out of the 3rd overall pick than I do the 11th.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
And I mean, like, if I just all year, I guess what I'm saying is all year, Mo Bamba was touted as a top 15 player in this draft, up to like a 7th or 8th pick in the draft. And now all of a sudden in the past week or 2 weeks, they're looking at his just athleticism and how long he is and his ceiling, and people are shooting him up to like 2nd and 3rd on the draft board. When I do think there's something to be said, like Alex said, about players like Luka Doncic who are playing in professional leagues.
Okay, and this is where I think the point that Alec originally made and the point you're making now is where they connect. Alec, you expressed before that you've been frustrated that like Kawhi Leonard, like that's such a big story at draft time. But I think the reason that that's so is because NBA teams recognize that proven veterans, like proven guys in the league, are far more valuable than their ability to recognize potential in basketball players. Like, dude, the Phoenix Suns They do this every single year. They just said today that they're not going to trade the first pick for Kawhi Leonard, and I think that's fucking ridiculous. I would trade the first pick for Kawhi Leonard any day because I believe that Kawhi Leonard, as a proven NBA star, is a much more valuable asset than the idea and the hope of drafting some 19-year-old, no matter who it is.
See, and I would say that I think that's definitely true for half the league. And I think with the Suns, you see kind of the Sixers model of, I think there really are two camps in the NBA. I think there are teams that feel like they can enrich themselves through free agency, which is probably true depending on the team that you are. And let's be honest, the Suns aren't that team, right? The Celtics can do it. The Lakers can do it.
To be clear, though, we're not talking about free agency here, Alec. We're talking about a trade.
Well, no, yeah, but just through your actual, like, tangible capital, right? And I think that it's pretty clear that you have to have either the free agents or the stacked up draft classes to do that. And that's the route that the Suns are going, the Sixers route.
I mean, yeah, I see what you're saying, but they've been on the Sixers route and they've had a bunch of picks near the top of the draft, and they're one of the youngest teams in the NBA, and they have a player like Devin Booker that can get you buckets.
Okay,
just buckets by the millions when you need them. And so that I'm with you, Andrew. No, I'm with you on the fact that at nothing else, why would you shut this trade down? That just shows that it's an organization that's not being run like properly, because they have no reason to turn this trade down. All it could do is help them in leverage if they keep
They've got a ton of reason
until draft night. But like, why wouldn't you pair a Kawhi Leonard with Devin Booker, a proven star, Tyler Ulis, all of these other young, good players, actually take that jump instead of drafting Ayton and being like, well, maybe let's hope that all these players develop together, instead of being like, well, we got one dude who's guaranteed about to be a superstar. We got a couple young guys who might end up being superstars already, and we have a first overall pick. Well, why don't we trade for this 26-year-old possible second best player in the league? Like, I feel you if Kawhi Leonard was Russell Westbrook, 29 years old, or LeBron James is 33 or 34 years old. But Kawhi Leonard is 26, and he might be the second best player in the league, besides just LeBron. Like, I
think there's obvious reasons. Okay, so one, Kawhi is only locked up for tops 2 years. Kawhi can leave in 2019 if he wants to, and he probably will. He doesn't want to be in Phoenix. I think that's obvious. If he did, he'd go there.
Unless they win a championship.
Yeah, exactly. Unless they win a championship, while the Celtics and the Warriors still have both cores that LeBron couldn't beat. So you think Kawhi and Devin Booker are going to beat LeBron in the you only trade the number one pick if you think that you're going to get a championship out of it, i.e. the Philadelphia Eagles in any sport.
I disagree. But
you're not going to get that out of Kawhi. You're not going to get
why is the first
because the Spurs couldn't win one with Kawhi as the best player against the Warriors, who are there for 2 years, and then he has all the time to leave.
What you're saying, though, is the number one overall pick is going to get to beat the Warriors.
No, but you have the number one overall pick locked up in cost control for 4 years.
That they have the chance to beat them in 2 years if they draft DeAndre Ayton and he ends up being good, instead of just saying that team right now could plug in and finals MVP
and never be able to beat them.
I don't understand why, like, plugging this dude
because Kawhi won't make them good enough to beat the Warriors.
Is better. Like, what are the chances that DeAndre Ayton ever is a finals MVP ever at any point in his career ever?
Super low, but they're better 3 years from now than they are in the next 2 years.
And get that tomorrow.
Yep. Okay.
So Will, tell me this then. Do you think that if the Suns get Kawhi, they're going to win an NBA championship in the next 2 years with the team they have with Kawhi? The next 2 years, because that's all they have him for.
In the NBA, like, yeah, you're just going to sit back, but like, what's a better chance? Plugging him into this already good young core and having a shot at it, and maybe you convince him to stay, man. Phoenix
in the next 2 years.
Phoenix isn't something that like runs away. Like, Phoenix isn't like a place that people hate. Like, it's a nice city. People like it there. Like, players don't complain about living in Phoenix. Like, it's like you're saying they're running away from Milwaukee or something, bro.
No, but I think that you're insane if you think
Phoenix is beautiful and like
Kawhi Leonard is a title contender.
Or why wouldn't he want to say if he goes there, they show improvement, and after 2 years they are in the Western Conference Finals? Like, why wouldn't you re-sign up to just
because they won't be because
they won't be.
They won't be. That's just dollars and cents. They
like
won't
in a
be.
Finals MVP and make it to the Western Conference Finals.
I think there's just way more speculating going on here than even saying that DeAndre Ayton is going to be a good player, and the fact that they'll have a losing season for the next year means that they'll get another good player, and then you have, an opportunity to maybe add a free agent on top of that because you've got cost-depressed players because your entire team is young. Or you have assets you can trade when your better players are older.
When do you take that next step? Boston, they blew up their number 1 seed to get Kyrie and put him in with the younger core and have a better shot. They took that next big jump after they built their core.
But they already had a core. They were already winning games. Will, they made it to the conference finals.
Can I talk?
That's a totally different place.
Can I talk? Okay, Alec, dude, we talk about this a lot. Like when we get to draft times in every sport, and you're doing it again. Like you're buying into this hope charade that is drafting 19-year-olds into a men's league. Like I don't get that. Like, dude, Kawhi Leonard put it up on the poll, man. What's more valuable, Kawhi Leonard or the number 1 pick in the draft? I'm not sure this poll is close at all.
I think you're looking at this from 2 very different points. I think that what's more valuable, Kawhi Leonard for 2 years when you can't win it. I 100% believe that they don't have a shot at making it to the Western Conference Finals in the next 2 years with Kawhi Leonard on the team and the roster as it is.
Real quick.
If they trade nothing, no, just listen to me. If they trade nothing and have DeAndre Ayton, I don't think like that team could make it to the Western Conference Finals. So I do think, though, that 4 years down the road, I don't know who will be the best team in the Western Conference because I don't know where the Warriors will be. I don't know where the Rockets will be. But I do think DeAndre Ayton will be a good player. I do think Devin Booker will be a good player. I think maybe TJ Warren will be a good player, right? But, I mean, I don't even like their core that much. But either way, I think that 4 years down the road, you figure that maybe then you add the pieces because at the very least you don't have maybe the best team in NBA history, and then a team that took it to 7 games, and also the Spurs who are going to reload when Kawhi leaves, and you know that, like, right there. So I just don't see the point in trading away your future for a guy when you don't have a present.
I see what you mean. You don't know if you'll be able to re-sign him in 2 years, but you don't know if DeAndre Ayton will be that good in 4 years, and if he is that good, why wouldn't he leave Phoenix for somewhere better then? Like,
4 years from now,
I see what you mean, but if he gets traded to Phoenix, Phoenix can still sign him to the Supermax because he'll be traded. So Phoenix can still pay him the most money if he gets traded there, which is the only reason why DeAndre Ayton would stay there, which is the only reason anyone would stay there, according to your logic here, is because they can pay them the most or they're dedicated to that franchise or something. And what's stopping DeAndre Ayton from leaving in 4 years? Or if you're not winning in 2 years, what stops Devin Booker from leaving? You're assuming that Devin Booker is going to stay just for the hope of DeAndre Ayton being good when he's already wasted most of his young career sitting in the Phoenix with a bad team. How do we know?
But then what stops Devin Booker from pulling a Kyrie Irving when Kawhi Leonard comes?
Second best player in the league, possibly. Top 3.
Maybe. We don't know. He was injured. He didn't play last season.
Dude, really? You're going to just go down on that? Because I'll just listen, people. Who is better at any point in their career than Kawhi Leonard? How many of these can you say?
Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook,
Andrew Vogt, LeBron, number 1 pick. Andre Bargnani, Greg Oden, Derrick Rose, no knees, Blake Griffin, John Wall. How many of those players were ever as good as Kawhi is on the court?
John Wall and Derrick Rose. Kawhi's had 1 elite season. That's what people forget. He had an elite playoffs and an elite season, and that's it.
But that's more than DeAndre Ayton has had, and that's the point.
Like
point-
DeAndre
but you
Ayton has
don't have
been
the future of that.
mediocre in college.
But Alex,
He busted against the
He was
University
dominant
of
in
Buffalo.
college.
He had like 12 points in a game against the University of Buffalo, his last game of his career.
That's because they couldn't get him the ball.
Alec, you're trafficking in hope, man. Like that's all you're doing right now. You're telling the listener,
And
to hope.
you're trafficking in fantasy. This
I'm
is
not.
just never gonna happen.
Awesome.
What do you mean what's never going to happen? They could trade and get the...
They're not gonna make that trade.
Tomorrow.
San Antonio and Phoenix aren't gonna make that trade.
There is absolutely.
You think Greg Popovich, if that's how you feel about draft picks, Greg Popovich feels that way?
There is
No.
According to you, DeAndre Ayton's going to be fucking Shaq, so why not?
No, I think he's
Okay,
Phoenix's best hope. I think it's very different when you're San Antonio. I think very specifically for the Phoenix Suns, it makes no sense to make the trade for Kawhi Leonard, and it doesn't make sense. He's already said that he wants to go to LA.
There's nothing fantasy about the fact that Kawhi has proven himself as an NBA star. What any of the even Alec, even if a fairy went to the GM of the Phoenix Suns today and showed him who was going to be the absolute best player in this draft, there's still a chance that that player is not as good as Kawhi Leonard. The fact of the matter is that proven NBA stars are worth a hell of a lot more than hoping that some 19 to 22-year-old is going to come into your building and change everything.
And this is where you're half right and you're half wrong. Proven NBA stars are worth a hell of a lot more to teams that can contend. And you know what? If you guys believe that the Suns with Kawhi can contend, then sure, your logic holds up, but you're blind.
That's two NBA All-Stars on a team, but okay.
And one of them is Devin Booker, who doesn't play defense and only scores as much because he plays on the Suns.
It was his third season this year, and he jumped in defensive efficiency like 14 points.
The other side of this is if you don't feel that you can contend, your best option is to tank and buy draft picks until you have all-stars who are cost-controlled and are on your team locked in, not because you had the pieces to get them or because you had the ability to recruit them in free agency, but because you drafted them. And that's what the Sixers have done, and I think that that's probably pretty clear that that's what the Suns have to do.
Okay, Alec, I have one more question for you, and we're going to leave it at this. Like, why are you faulting the Suns for trying? Like, it seems like what you're saying is that it's better for them to sit where they are and not try to be better for the next 2 years. And I think that you guys are the sports fans who tell me all the time that fans want to see their teams win no matter what. That's a no matter what, dude. Getting Kawhi Leonard for a day makes them better. For one day, it makes them better.
You're also the guy who talks about it like a business, and in a business sense, I do see where Alec's coming from. That he's probably won't stay there very long, and if you want to build a franchise, build a team that's going to last a long time, then maybe you don't take Kawhi. I see both sides.
I would say this: I'm not faulting the Suns for trying. I'm faulting them for trying now. I think the idea is that you don't have the time frame that Kawhi makes sense in, right? Like I understand the Celtics saying, okay, we're going to trade Jason Tatum and Kyrie Irving. I think Kawhi is a better player. But do you get what I'm saying? Like, I understand the context there of selling the house for Kawhi if you think that he's one of the best 3 teams in the NBA.
I see you, but back to what Andrew was saying about us being fans and the side that we're all 3 usually on against him with this is if I'm a Suns fan, I don't give a shit that there's a chance that he's going to leave in 2 years. Give me that player. Give me a chance at pushing in the playoffs, and maybe he stays, man. Maybe we win and he likes it. How do we know? Like players have said, I want to go here and I want to go there a lot, and it doesn't mean the money's going to work out, and it doesn't mean the situation's going to be right. And if you're the Suns, like I see what you mean by not trying now, but how do you know that in 2 years is going to be the time to try? Like there's and a lot of times with these guys, like if I'm a GM, I don't know that I get to be here for DeAndre Ayton's 4 years.
Well,
I don't know that I get to be here for Devin Booker's next contract.
Great point.
I don't know about that if I'm a businessman, like Mac said. If I'm a GM, if I'm the owner, maybe. I see what you mean. I'm in it for the long haul. I have my job secured if I'm the owner. But if I'm the GM, I probably only have 2 years in today's NBA to make a difference in a team. And if I can make a difference and get Kawhi and get 2 years into like the playoffs and be contending, maybe I'm a better free agent destination for those players. Maybe Kawhi wants to stay because we're winning and building. Maybe we beat somebody.
Because I think there's way too many qualifiers in what you're saying. I think that if you look at the worst case scenario, right, you draft the number 1 draft pick and he sucks. Then you suck this year and you have another number 1 draft pick coming up. If you have Kawhi and you suck, and 2 years from now Kawhi leaves, Devin Booker leaves, and you don't have a number 1 draft pick.
You're listening to From the Nosebleeds podcast. We'll be right back. Dude, mostly fuck the shit out.
I feel like that was the best segment we've had in a while.
It was, but then mostly hit the nail on the head and you went one monotonous comment too long. We were all just like, and then you...
Alec, do you have the chat up?
Oh.
I do, but I don't have my glasses on, and it's too far away from my face for me to really read any of it.
Jesus.
Oh my god, that was good. That was funny. Okay. All right.
I'm honestly like surprised that is how you feel.
No, I'm saying from the Suns' point of view, I don't think it's a bad move, man. Like I see what you mean in the long term, and I'm not sure I'd make it if I was the Suns because of your logic, and because I'd be a little worried about him leaving. But yeah, man, if I was the GM and I didn't know if I was gonna have 3 more years on my deal, I'd immediately trade for him, because I mean, I don't know if I'm going to get to see DeAndre Ayton as an all-star, and I know that if I sign next year, we're going to be in the playoffs, and my job's safe for another year.
Like, you really like DeAndre. Like, I think DeAndre Ayton. I really like DeAndre Ayton. That's the other half of this.
Yeah. Well, that'll be fun.
All right. So I kind of want to wrap the show with with the new favorite segment, which is Will's Atlanta Braves update. Is that cool?
Hold on. Let me pull up some stats.
No,
I don't think that should be allowed, dude.
No.
You didn't watch.
No. Not like no. I don't want to pull up a box score and act like I know. I simply want to pull up like stats on the season for the team to talk about stats and act like I know.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. I think that's not
I feel
fair.
like a box score is better.
Like it's a better segment if you don't know.
it'd be a really short one too.
A box score is like a good revisionist history of the Braves as of last week.
All right, let's get into it. We're going to do it live. Welcome back, everyone. Thank you so much for listening to our podcast. That is From the Nosebleeds podcast. My name is Andrew Levin. I am sitting here with my very good friends, Will Mosley, Mac Young, and Alec Uwecki. We have talked a bunch of sports tonight, and we're going to talk a little more right now. It is now time for my new favorite summer segment, and that would be Will Mosley's Atlanta Braves update. Will?
Well, I mean, it was a strong week for my Braves, you know. I think we took a couple games in the series from San Diego, and
I could see you looking at the information in your computer.
Yeah, it's real tough over here. You know, just trying to refresh the memory. I've watched so much Braves baseball since the last time me and the viewers were here together that I would just like to, you know, refresh my memory. Sometimes the games mix up. That 9-3 loss was just devastating. That shook me up real bad to see us give up 9 to the Padres when they're hitting the way they are this year. You know what I'm saying? And it was tough to watch that one, but taking 3 out of 4 in the series, I have a lot of hope. And maybe we might have 3 people in the All-Star game.
I saw that. Do you have a favorite player this year?
Chipper Jones is not there anymore. Yeah, Greg Maddux isn't there either. So I don't know if I have one on the tip of my tongue there.
Do you know what the new stadium is named?
Oh, that I don't.
Okay, how many?
SunTrust Park, maybe? No, that can't be it.
What percent of people who call themselves baseball fans do you think are just like that about their own team? Is it above 50%?
Easy.
Easily above 50%?
Yeah. The
I
people
mean-
who will be like, oh, I like the Braves. Yeah.
Okay, well, since you clearly didn't watch one game this week, I think it's
Yeah.
only fair that this upcoming week you would watch 2 games, right? And we'll just
What?
keep building on it until you have to watch 16
Oh.
Brave games in a week.
Let's they don't play that much baseball, do they? 16 in a week?
Do they?
I was being facetious, man. I'm just saying you're not going to watch a game because you're not going to watch a game. That's why I said I literally said last week that I would bet him money that he would not watch a Braves game, and that would be a bet that's entirely in his control, and he would still lose.
And you would have been right for last week, but hear me now, people. The people of this podcast listening to these voices on these airwaves, you out there, I will watch at least 6 innings of Atlanta Braves baseball between now and the next time you hear this silky soft voice.
What is it, though, about you that doesn't allow you – if you're going to sit down and watch 6 innings, why not just watch the game? Or is that just you're maxed out on attention?
So you can get like two one night, two one night, two one night.
No. I will watch 6 consecutive innings of baseball. Or maybe not consecutive. I will watch 6 innings of a single game.
I don't think that that's happening. No, I don't think that's happening
my
at all.
personal promise to the listeners out there.
Well, that's great. Alec Uecki from Connecticut. Any last thoughts tonight? Sports, things going on in your life?
I'm gonna hold off on this one unless we want to stick for another 30 minutes. So we'll
That's fair.
Producer Mac Young, an excellent Columbus Crew shirt. Do you want to give us 30 seconds on what's going on with the Crew, please?
Oh God, I need more than that. We have a shitty manager, shitty owner. They are trying to take my Columbus Crew out of Columbus and put them in Austin when Austin, Texas does not want the Crew. There's a lot of backlash in not only Columbus but across the MLS and soccer world. We've had articles in BBC and some like Arabian. We've just it's getting tough. We'll see what happens. I'll get into another week.
30 seconds. There you go.
That was perfect, man. You have an excellent sense of timing. It's almost like you know what you're doing when it comes to talking into a microphone. Will Mosley, another cool shirt, my friend. An even cooler mustache on your face. Anything else? Any hot takes?
Golf people need to calm down about Phil. He did what I do every day.
I said the exact same thing at the start of the show, and what a perfect way to kiss beginning to end there, brother. I couldn't agree more, dude. I don't understand it. Most of these motherfuckers who are yelling disgrace at Phil Mickelson are motherfuckers like you who do the same exact thing 13 holes out of 18.
And I'll be doing it tomorrow, man.
I won't be doing it tomorrow as I have a very important golf tournament that's going to have me up at 5 a.m. and put that up on the poll as we close up shop for this evening, Mac Young. Is there anything worse than waking up at 5:30 a.m.? Because I don't think that there is. I think there's a certain point where if you have to wake up early enough, you might as well just stay up. I'm not sure where it is, but for me, 5:30 is approaching it. Nothing? Nope. Nothing on anyone else's end? Okay, well, this has been From the Nosebleeds podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Please hit us up on Twitter at _the Nosebleeds. And please subscribe to us on SoundCloud. Hit the search bar. Go to From the Nosebleeds Sports Podcast. You will find us there. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for tweeting. Thank you so much for putting up with our bullshit. Mosley, go watch some Braves games. Mac Young, Alec Uecki, thank you so much, guys. Appreciate you listening. We'll catch you next week.
Love you guys.
That was groovy. That was good. I thought that was
Hey,
a
so
solid
did you
effort.
really open the show with people need to calm down about that?
Yeah, it was literally the first thing I'm pretty sure that came out of my mouth.
Well, that's convenient. By the
Yeah.
way, Andrew, just to let you guys know, when I was trying to log in and it was loading earlier,